What's up, comic fans? Welcome back to Heroic Elite Comics, the spot where we dive deep into the multiverse, break down the most epic storylines, and bring you the dopest comic book recaps out there. Today we are talking about Marvel's fresh reboot of Spider-Man in the brand new Ultimate Universe, Ultimate Spider-Man #1. And let me tell you, this issue is a slow burn, but that ending, it hits hard. But before we swing into it, do me a favor, smash that like button, web up that subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss any of our deep dives into Marvel's wildest stories. Alright, now let's break down this issue from start to finish, and trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for the twist at the end. So this new story kicks off in January, not just a random month. This is Marvel making a point. The Ultimate Universe, both old and new, is meant to explore what superheroes would look like if they existed in the real world, with real-world consequences. You're gonna see familiar faces in unfamiliar roles, and everything's got this grounded, almost eerie realism to it. Right out the gate, we learn something big. Peter Parker never became Spider-Man. Yep, you heard that right. No spider bite, no great power, no great responsibility. Instead, he's just Peter Parker, a husband, a dad, a guy with a job at the Daily Bugle. His life, pretty normal. He's married to Mary Jane Watson, and together they have 2 kids, Richard and May. If you caught the nods, Richard is named after Peter's dad, and May, of course, is named after Aunt May. It's this nice little touch that reminds you, this is still Peter, just in a world that never pushed him into becoming Spider-Man. Now, the reason Peter never became Spider-Man was covered in Ultimate Invasion, which you definitely need to check out if you haven't. In short, The Maker, an alternate version of Reed Richards from the old Ultimate Universe, manipulated reality. He erased key moments in superhero origin stories, including the one where Peter gets bitten by the spider. So in this world, that never happened. Instead, Peter just lived a regular life, got a job, fell in love, and started a family. Sounds peaceful, right? But there's more going on beneath the surface. Early in the comic, Peter's daughter May is playing with this strange orb. It almost looks like a crystal ball. Peter gently takes it away, saying it's not a toy. Now keep that detail in the back of your head, because that thing is going to blow your mind by the end of this issue. We shift to Peter's workplace, the Daily Bugle. Everything here feels familiar. Kind of. J. Jonah Jameson is still yelling at people, still being a lovable jerk, and still wearing that classic scowl. But there's a big twist. Ben Parker is alive. Yup, Uncle Ben never died in this universe. He's here, and he's working at the Bugle as the managing editor. Seeing Ben and Jonah bounce off each other is priceless. There's this buddy cop vibe between them. Peter shows up, says, "You ready, Uncle Ben?" And Ben hits him with, "I've been ready 15 minutes. Peter quips, "A Parker arrives precisely when he means to." And Jonah, he chimes in with, "Kids these days always trying to be clever." There's a warmth here you never expected. Ben, Jonah, and Peter feel like this weird little newsroom family. And honestly, it's a vibe I didn't know I needed. Now, Jonah pulls Peter aside for a quick talk. It's not about news deadlines. It's personal. He notices Peter's missing a tie, gives him one, and sits down for a heart-to-heart. He talks about Ben, calling him the toughest man I've ever met, and asks Peter to watch out for signs that Ben might be struggling beneath the surface. Then we get a real conversation between Peter and Ben. Peter's worried. He asks Ben if he's okay. He's noticed Ben won't talk about what happened, and that's when it hits. Aunt May is dead. Unlike in the main Marvel universe, May wasn't killed in a random mugging. She died in the Stark building explosion during Ultimate Invasion. A literal orbital satellite obliterated the place as part of a massive cover-up by the Maker and his Illuminati. Ben shares something deep. When Peter's parents died, Ben and May took him in. They never tried to replace his parents, but they raised him as their own. And now, Ben is alone. May's gone, and the pain never stops. We then cut to a memorial service for those lost in the Stark explosion. And get this, Matt Murdock is here, but he's not Daredevil. He's Father Murdock, a priest. Another sign of how different this world is. So then Harry Osborn stands up to speak. His parents, Norman and Emily Osborn, were killed in the explosion too. Harry talks about grief and endurance, but you can feel the anger under his words. And that anger, it's going to explode soon. Literally. Back at the Bugle, Jonah quits, just loses it and walks out. Why? The higher-ups and advertisers don't want the truth about the Stark explosion getting out. They want the news watered down to keep profits up. And Robbie Robertson? The man who usually stands for truth in the main universe? Here, he's just counting down to retirement. He shrugs and says, "I'm 2 years from my pension." Then Wilson Fisk enters. Yup, the Kingpin himself. He owns the Bugle now. He offers Ben Parker Jonah's old job, but only if he toes the line. Ben doesn't say a word. He just walks out, joins Jonah in the elevator, and leaves. Meanwhile, Fisk steps out of his car and gets ambushed by none other than the Green Goblin. But it's not Norman. It's Harry Osborn. That grief we saw earlier, it's boiling over. Later, Jonah and Ben meet up at the Bar with No Name, a nod to the main universe's magical tavern. Though this one's just a regular bar. They talk shop, they talk truth, and Ben drops the idea, let's start our own news outlet. Jonah laughs. He says people don't want the truth. They want the version of the truth they already believe. But Ben still believes in real journalism. They don't need to change the world. They just need to promise one thing. They won't lie. Peter walks in on them and hears everything. They offer him a spot on their new venture. Peter asks, do you even have money? Jonah says, that's tomorrow's problem. Then Mitir awes Ben something heavy. How did you throw your whole life away in one day and start over? Ben's answer is heartbreaking. Because I have nothing left. Peter's grown. May's gone. Ben's free to do what feels right. But Peter? He has responsibilities. A wife, kids, a stable life. Ben sees through him. Peter's not just worried about a job, he's struggling with something deeper. He tells Ben he's felt off, like he's living the wrong life, that something's missing. And Ben gives him one last piece of wisdom. If you're sleepwalking through your life, it's time to wake up. That night, Peter kisses his kids goodnight. He talks with MJ and she sees what's happening. She tells him, if this is your calling, go chase it. He says, this won't change anything between us. And she replies, then go. Peter climbs to the rooftop holding that crystal orb from earlier, and now we jump back to the night before when Peter first received it. A holographic message appears. It's Tony Stark, or rather his son. And the message? Mind-blowing. Tony explains that Peter was meant to be bitten by the radioactive spider, that he was supposed to become Spiderman, but the Maker erased that moment. This whole world has been manipulated, its heroes erased, its destiny rewritten. Inside the orb, a stealth suit, a bioorganic catalyst, and the spider. Tony says he's been working to restore the world. He's chosen 6 people to become the heroes this world should have had. Peter is one of them. So Peter opens the orb and finds the spider in a vial. He thinks about Ben's words, MJ's words, about how this life he's been living doesn't feel like the one he was meant for. And then Peter lets the spider bite him. Just like that, Spider-Man is born again. And that's where Ultimate Spider-Man #1 ends. What an issue. This is a bold, slow burn reboot that's setting up something huge. Hickman absolutely crushed it. I can't wait to see where Peter's new journey takes him and what other heroes return next. And hey, if you love this breakdown, drop a like, hit that subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What do you think about this new version of Peter Parker? Are you into it? Or are you sticking with the classic? Until next time, this is Heroic Elite Comics, and I'll catch you in the next one.